House of Cards became a Netflix phenomenon when the political drama starring Kevin Spacey debuted in February 2013. It was the first original series Netflix produced, and its success gave Hollywood a taste of the disruptive power of digital distribution. I loved it. The show's producer, Dana Brunetti, is the president of Trigger Street Productions, which was founded by Kevin Spacey in 1997. He also produced, Dana Brunetti did, the film The Social Network, Captain Phillips, and is currently working on 50 Shades of Grey. I caught up with him at the Next Media 3.0 conference in Toronto to discuss the evolution of entertainment and the colliding worlds of Hollywood and Silicon Valley.
Industry that I am in distribution, and that it's starting to adapt to what the audience wants, and it's really starting to understand that the audience is going to determine the direction it goes. They can try to stay in the old system and the old ways of distribution, but Silicon Valley is changing that.
Well, you've changed it, you and Kevin Spacey, with the launch of House of Cards. And understand when you were approached by Netflix to do this, you were on board right from the get-go. I think Kevin Spacey was kind of a little confused maybe about what it was. Why were you so enthused right at the beginning?
Well, Kevin initially thought we were going to be going to DVD,
yeah, I thought that was
which
cute.
I then had to explain to him, no, this is where they're going and where everything's going. And he actually, with me, launched a website in 2002, which was for filmmakers and screenwriters to basically have a platform for exposure and feedback, and just to kind of get their work out there. And this, again, 2002 was before YouTube, before video online was such a commonplace. And seeing how we were doing that, I knew that everything was going to eventually go that way, just a matter of time before it would get there. And when Netflix became an opportunity for us to put this show out, I basically told him, look, this is what we've been trying to do for the last 10 years, and it's going to happen in 5 or 10 years from now. We have the opportunity now to be the ones that are the game changers. And we rolled the dice, and it worked better than we could have ever hoped.
There's two parts of that story. One's the creative, and one's the distribution. So creatively working with a Netflix, or increasingly we've got Amazon getting into the space, and you're right, I mean, it's changing pretty dynamically. How does the creative side change given these new players, or does it change?
Well, with us, it was a different way of doing things as opposed to with a traditional network. Netflix was basically like, you guys do what you do best and we'll do what we do best, which was fantastic. And also why I think the show turned out as well as it did. It was basically just letting the creatives be creative and not really meddling in it in any way. But I mean, we're only in the infancy of where this is going to go. When as you mentioned, Amazon Prime, and there's Hulu and other things like that that are just starting to really pop up and become popular. In 10 years from now, that's going to be commonplace. I think everybody's really going to be, it's going to be little chiclets and a la carte of where you get your content from.
And what does that mean then for Hollywood? I know I think you've said that you see Hollywood moving north to Silicon Valley. What's it mean for the Vancouvers of the world, for example, even the Torontos, which were kind of hubs of movie making?
Well, as we've always said, is a camera that's shooting, it doesn't know what it's shooting for. So actual production, I think it's a good thing for the amount of content that's going to be created, because there's going to be more avenues to distribute that. It's great for content creators like myself, because there's more places to take a project or a show or a movie or whatever it is that I'm doing, a podcast. There's a variety of different things that you can do now. There's a lot of different places to shop that now, that rather than this being the traditional, few networks that we could go to, there's going to be much more. So for me, it's a fantastic opportunity that's coming, because I have a lot more buyers. You
do say, you've used the phrase coming a few times. I think in a previous interview you were talking about how the music labels kind of missed the iTunes, and they're still scrambling. And the question was asked, well, are the networks like the music labels, and you said they were, quote, stupider, which not the best grammar, but still it works. Are the networks not waking up to this? I mean, this is, whether it's TV networks or it's the film studios in Hollywood, I mean, have they not seen this coming?
I think it's been a lot of, it's not my problem, it's going to be somebody else's problem. But the shift is now happening so fast that it's starting to be their problem. And so they're having to learn and adapt. Because if they don't, they're going to die. And I think they're starting to realize that. Most of them are. Not all of them, but most of them are starting to realize that they have to give the audience what they want and how they want it.
Lots of young people aren't paying for content. So how do you enable your product to be paid for and allow the creative and the distribution, everybody to make their money?
Netflix is a perfect example and model of that. They're charging subscriptions every month. They're over 50 million subscribers now, and they're also content creators in a way, or they enable content creators to provide original material. So, I mean, that's a perfect model where they provide something that's of value so people are willing to pay for it, and they give it to them however they want it. You can get it on your PlayStation, your Xbox, your iPhone, your iPad. Every tablet, every TV now comes with that built in. So it's a different way of thinking, and really I think it's a way that traditional networks aren't looking at it and where they're leaving money on the table. Like HBO Go, they just announced that they're going to break HBO Go off and allow for you to get it just as a subscription that way, where that was money they were leaving on the table as far as if a kid was going to college, he's going to take your HBO username and password and in his dorm room watch it there as opposed to paying for it. So they're going to steal it. So why not just give them the ability to pay for it and get it legally as opposed to having to steal it?
Do you watch the, whether it's the content or the distribution business here in Canada? Is there anything that excites you about Canada?
I think it's all exciting. That's what's great about digital distribution. It's worldwide, and with Netflix, while granted there's different things as of territories and regions as to what is controlled, I think it's all one and the same. I just finished shooting in Vancouver. I've shot here in Toronto. So to me, as much as I travel, it's all pretty much the same.
Facebook, Captain Phillips, House of Cards. What's next for you?
Next is that's to be released is 50 Shades of Grey.
Right.
Right. That little book.
That little book, which I haven't read. You must be very excited about that. And just in terms of living up to the fandom that is around that series of books. Yeah,
I mean, it's always an interesting thing. I've adapted a couple books to film, but it's always interesting because a book is theater of the mind. So when people read a book, you might read a book and have a different idea in your head as what I might read and have in my head. So it's always a interesting project to kind of meet everybody's expectations, or at least try to get close to them. In the
1920s, they thought talkies would kill Hollywood. During the radio era, they thought that radio would die and Hollywood would die because of TV. Do you really think Hollywood is dead?
Hollywood's not dead. Look, great storytelling is always going to be around. It's just a matter of how those stories are told. So Hollywood won't die, but the way Hollywood has traditionally done business will die, or I shouldn't say die, will continue to evolve.
To change.
Yes.
And final question, are you an investor in Netflix?
I was. It was funny because when its stock got crushed and it went down to about $60 a share, I went in and bought a bunch of it. And then I sold it about $250 thinking I was a genius. But you know what, look, as they say, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, or whatever the saying is. So it actually had a nice little dip. I thought about jumping back in and buying some more. But I think it's still got a lot of room to go.